What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to our 49ers versus Saints live stream preview. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by Matt Llewellyn, and we're going to get right into it. It's going to be a pretty ugly day, if I had to say so myself. Matt, what are your initial thoughts on this game?
Oh, it's going to be ugly. This is not going to be a good look for the 49ers. Just got word Jaquiski Tartt's out for the season. To add to even more injury woes, we're traveling to New Orleans for the second season in a row. And even at full strength last year, it came down to the wire. And now you're talking about a Saints team that looks, like it's coming together a little bit with Michael Thomas's return. They just put a whooping on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. So, unless the Saints play down to the 49ers, it's going to be a long day. Long day.
Yeah. That's a good point that, last year a lot of fans might say, the 49ers took the Saints till, the final drive, final couple seconds. We all know this isn't the same team due to injuries, but even then at full strength, it was really hard for them to win. New Orleans is always a tough place to go into and win. But now this team who just got completely decimated by not only injuries, but then again, the Packers on Thursday night, it's going to be tough. And, a couple of weeks ago, I think when they beat the Patriots, we were saying, this 7-game stretch is not looking as bad. The Saints hadn't looked great. The Packers hadn't looked great. It's looking just as bad as we thought it was at the beginning of it. So I'm not sure how much they're going to be able to get done. Obviously, I think the big if is Nick Mullins and which Nick Mullins we see. You don't have too much faith in him at all, rightfully so. What do you think we see from him in New Orleans?
The same stuff that we've been seeing, where he'll play pretty well for a little bit, he'll be like, oh, he's doing pretty good. And then he'll just throw a ball up for grabs like he did against Arizona multiple times. That's just the type of quarterback that he is. We seem to have that habit because Jimmy does that sometimes too, which is really frustrating. But there's Vegas has a line at 9.5 for the Saints. There's a reason why it's going to be that, it's, a 9.5 point favorite with a 48.5 over underline. They're pretty much saying that, it's going to be, the Saints are going to be like 35 points in this game. So, it's going to be pretty ugly either way. So Hung Fat's excited, which is cool, but
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it at all. I think that the 49ers' best shot at this game probably is if Drew Brees comes out and just lays a total egg. I feel like if he happens to not be himself, they might have a shot, but even then they have Alvin Kamara. They got a pretty solid offensive line. Mm-hmm. Their defense is stout. And I think the big storyline for the 49ers is they're facing two former players, and Emmanuel Sanders and the recently traded Quan Alexander. That matchup, there's always a little bit of more, angst and anticipation when you're facing your former team. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them just ball out. I'm not sure how much Quan's going to play, but I have a feeling Emmanuel Sanders has something special for this game for the 49ers.
Yeah, maybe. I don't really think it's that big a deal for the players. It's different for fans. Like, we're all hyped up on it, but players understand that it's a business. And, unless it's something that's completely like, I don't think there's any ill will from Quan Alexander or Emmanuel Sanders. I know that Quan Alexander, he got traded and, but then the coaching staff came out, Kyle especially came out and said, I loved Quan. And, so when you kind of give props like that, it kind of takes out any, animosity. Now, if it was like Tom Brady going against the New England Patriots, he'd be like, okay, well, he was there for 20 years. Him and Belichick started sniping at each other at the end. Like, it got ugly when he left. You could see Tom Brady, who's, holds grudges anyways, to be the type of person that would get hyped up. But like Quan, is he going to hype himself up into missing tackles? That's fine with me. And, I don't think Emmanuel Sanders feels any which way about it. He was only with San Francisco for 8 games, so in the regular season. So I don't think he really cares. But
he came out kind of half jokingly saying that he was talking to Wes Welker, saying, "I can't wait to beat y'all's ass," and afterwards go and give you a hug. I think there is a little bit of friendly competition there, but he even acknowledged himself, "This isn't the team that I was on. Basically, it's completely different due to injury." So it's hard for them to kind of want to come out there and give it their full go because it's not. it's not the 49ers at their full strength. It's not the NFC championship team.
That's that wolf ticket trash talk, though. Like, he knows the 49ers are, like, wrecked, and he's just going to come out and say that. Like, he's just coming out to say that to put a little spit shine on himself. And I mean, that's fine if he wants to do that, but, like, that's not something that I really, take to heart or, like, is, that I would respect in any sort of way. It's just like, okay, it's like when the Packers were all smiling and, getting joy out of beating up on the 49ers, but it's like, that's not the 49ers team that smashed you twice last year. So it's a little different,
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to start. Well, it's probably going to be McKinnon again, starting at running back, Mullins at the quarterback. Do we have any idea if, like, do we get Tebow back now off the COVID list or what? Like, who even knows, man?
It's unfortunate. I think the one guy I'm actually looking forward to seeing if he can repeat is Richie James. He had a fantastic game Thursday night. We've talked about Nick Mullins before, where he can't seem to take his eyes off of a target or receiver if they're doing well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to that. And if Richie James can kind of build on the success that he had against the Packers, the 49ers might have something there. We saw Richard Sherman come out and say, it was never a lack of talent. It was always just kind of a lack of opportunity for Richie James with the 49ers. He seems to kind of have been buried on the depth chart. I would, hope for him to be able to build on that. And Hung Fa actually just asked you, Matt, who are you actually excited to see?
I mean, the old standbys, Fred Warner. I always love watching him play. Dre Greenlaw, I love watching him play. I'd like to see more out of the Goon Squad, Moore and Harris. So, that's going to be good. I think the defense is going to be able to keep it competitive for at least a half. But, offensively, I'd like to see Hasty bounce back from a lackluster week. So there are things to get excited about. It's just when you look at the overall picture, I think we all pretty much understand that this is a game that's, they'd have to punch up pretty hard to be able to, take one from the Saints at this point in the season with as many injuries as they have. It looks like a mismatch any way you slice it. So, it's going to be hard for the 49ers to be favored really in any games for the rest of the season, outside of, Washington and Dallas, maybe. It's a tough schedule. They still have all the division opponents one more time, and then they have the Buffalo Bills also. So it's going to be a tough road. But I mean, hey, even if we only take the games against Washington and the Cowboys, I mean 6-10, that could put you in position for maybe not a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields, but maybe a Trey Lance or a Zach Wilson at that point. But it's just it's going to be a tough road to hoe at this point, I think.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and speaking of Zach Wilson, John Lynch recently came out on KBR and confirmed Adam Peters was at the BYU Boise State game, and it seems like they're doing their homework on quarterbacks, on Zach Wilson specifically. That's a guy we've kind of both talked about on our live streams previously, and Matt will be doing some kind of live stream quarterback breakdowns in the future. But I just feel like the 49ers have they found themselves in a really tough position regarding what's going to happen. Do they continue to try and compete and possibly sneak into the playoffs? I saw the NFL made that rule to where if games continue to get canceled, they're willing to add an additional playoff game. Is that correct? Did I understand that correctly?
Who knows at this point?
Something of the sort.
Things change. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they haven't moved any of the games lately. They moved the Tennessee ones, but that's because like Tennessee, essentially their entire team spit in each other's mouths and got COVID. So, outside of them, there hasn't been that much, that much turnover or whatever. But this team's not making the playoffs. This team's lucky if it wins another game this season. It's that bad as far as like the injuries and stuff like that goes, and that sucks because Super Bowl team last year, and we're looking at a disastrous season. But it is what it is, and we're gonna have to retool. And like you said on past streams, don't block your face there, buddy. There you go. As you said on past live streams, it's like, the last time that we had an injury ravaged season, we lost Jimmy Garoppolo, and that turned into Nick Bosa in the future. So, there are ways that this can turn out to be a net positive. But I do think that it's telling, not so much that Peters was at the game, because you want to see them do their due diligence, and the league is kind of divvying up via lottery system. It's not only necessarily that they would be interested in Zach Wilson necessarily, but that, there could be another Fred Warner's from BYU. So it's somebody who's on their, it's a school that's on their radar and in their wheelhouse anyway. But for them to come out and acknowledge, yeah, Adam Peters was there. And then to give that kind of tepid endorsement of Jimmy Garoppolo, where he's like, when healthy, Jimmy is the best quarterback on the roster. It's obvious that he hasn't played up to Jimmy's level. Maybe the ankle has something to do with that. It's like that tepid, like, okay, we don't want to bash Jimmy at this point, but following up, Adam Peters was at BYU in a game where Zach Wilson absolutely dominated, and then turn that around and go, oh, but let me give Jimmy a little bit of a boost there. I think it says something if you read between the lines. And again, there's no justifying Jimmy's contract past this year. They can get out of it and then re-sign other more important players, and then perhaps have that guy. I think that we're not going to make movement on it until the draft, because if they can't get their quarterback, that's when I think, okay, does Jimmy stay? And they keep him. But if they draft a quarterback, I would expect, even to the point of later that evening, if it's like they choose as quarterback top 10, that they're going to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo, that day, I think.
Yeah.
Someone hey, you know what? I respect it. It.
Appreciate the loyalty, optimism. I think that kind of, it was like two completely different realities. Jimmy Garoppolo's fantastic when he's on the field, but we're also looking at a quarterback to replace him. Like, it's that kind of like double speak that you get out of, politicians, GMs. You have to expect it, but I think the 49ers, maybe it seems like, have finally realized we have to address this with the premium pick. We cannot continue to get these kind of bargain guys. They kind of, fell into the Jimmy Garoppolo situation with John Lynch and Bill Belichick, that relationship. It seems like Kyle Shanahan was kind of like, look, I'll go along with it. But at the point, he was like, but I want Kirk. Now that has kind of played out, they're finding themselves in position to have at least a top 15 pick, I'd say, possibly even top 10, depending on how it shapes out. I think they're finally saying, in order to be successful for the long term, we need a hot, young, steady, consistent quarterback under center. And I said this on the Red and Gold Standard podcast that we recorded last night with Anthony, that you can't be the worst quarterback in a division where Jared Goff is there. I mean,
you like those hot young quarterbacks, don't you?
I love those hot young quarterbacks. Yeah, the hotter and the younger, the better.
No, I get it. And it's funny because when they first traded for Jimmy Garoppolo, it was a ceiling thing, right? It was just like, well, he was picked in the second round. He studied behind the best quarterback to ever lace him up. Like, there's something there. There's obvious. Bill Belichick saw something in him, and obviously Brady. So they trade for him. Everybody's like, man, this is going to be really awesome. The first 5 games, awesome. And then somewhere along the line, there was just like he hit his ceiling and regressed, and to the point where I would say that he's worse than Kirk Cousins at this point.
He has been.
And it's not like Kirk Cousins is lighting everybody up, because he's not, but he's been playing this season. He's played worse than Kirk Cousins, which is sad. And I think that, speaks to a lot of, frustrations from Kyle Shanahan, who wants to open his playbook. And, Steve Young said it on ESPN, this regime wants to start looking into a quarterback where the offensive genius Kyle, can expand his playbook, not limit it to protect the quarterback position. And I think that that's going to be a big thing going forward. And as we've said multiple times, he wanted Kirk Cousins. He didn't necessarily want Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he was willing to do it as long as it was working. And the minute it's not, he's like, okay, well, that wasn't my guy anyway. Get him out of here. It's because the other thing that we have to look at that nobody's talked about is that Kyle Shanahan has one winning season in San Francisco, and that was last year. And at some point, you start running out of excuses. Okay, the roster's bad. Okay, well, now we were injured. Okay, well, now we're injured again, and our quarterback isn't it. Getting a new quarterback could actually extend his stay and take some of the pressure off of him. I'm not saying that he's on the hot seat, but when you're looking at a guy who's supposed to be this genius, right, and the wins aren't there, and then you look at somebody like Matt Nagy in Chicago, who's had trash quarterbacks, but still has like a winning record. So, something's not lining up. And I think that, with as persnickety as Jed York can be, he's been remarkably quiet throughout this regime. But, you know, there could be some trouble ahead if Kyle needs and knows that he needs to figure it out. And that starts with the quarterback position, a guy that he can allow the playbook to be expanded upon.
Yeah, and I want to address what you just said. First, let's get into some of these comments here.
Yep.
Collie Young, John Lynch was just talking coach talk. Well, in his case, general manager talk. Yeah, definitely. He's not going to come out here and admit, look, we know Jimmy sucks. We're looking for a replacement, so chill out. Jose, Eduardo Serrano, against the Saints, we need to play without fear, play safe, and run the ball. Our current quarterbacks are not that good at throwing the ball, so we need to play smart, and our D needs to play big time. Yeah, 100%, Jose. It's unfortunate the quarterbacks are not good at being quarterbacks, but that's where we are. Regarding what you just said, Matt, I totally agree with that. I think that they found themselves in a tricky place again because they kind of got forced into this position. I don't want to say forced, but they kind of fell into the trap of, like you said, the upside of Jimmy Garoppolo, that, 7 or 5 game stretch, whatever he had in his first year. He played really well. And I mean, we were both in on him. We were like, wow, this guy's throwing a really pretty ball. He's accurate. He's mobile. He looks like he's got full command of this complex offense. We all heard it takes weeks to finally learn Kyle Shanahan's offense. It looked like he finally got it. And then unfortunately the injury happened and he just hasn't really been the same. And I guess time will only tell if this season was due to his ankle being injured or if that's just who he is as a quarterback. He keeps saying it's injured. The team keeps saying, no, it's not. He's fine. That is not a good position to be in as a franchise. No. When you don't believe that your franchise quarterback is actually injured, there's some divide there. And I think that is the writing on the wall moving forward. I think that the team's kind of like, look, okay, if that's how you want to feel, if that's how you think, I think we're probably better off just cutting you, saving the money, going with a young rookie quarterback. I'm going to leave out hot this time so I don't get flamed on. But the fact that they can get a guy on a controlled rookie.
So if you say hot young quarterbacks, you get flamed on.
So I don't get joked about.
All the Freudian slips.
So I don't get gassed up, whatever you want to call it. I think that to have the rookie quarterback on a controlled salary, not only that, but you save all of the money from cutting Jimmy Garoppolo. You're able to add and re-sign players that would be pending free agents. You're able to extend guys. It frees up a lot of cap space and allows the team to do a lot more. Now you do have to have a guy in between. I would not prefer them to draft a quarterback and have him start week 1.
Why not?
I just feel like it's not the best.
Why not?
You want to let him some time to learn the playbook, get a grip of it, and then when need be, go in there.
You don't need that. You
don't need it, but I'd prefer it.
How's Joe Burrow doing?
He's doing fine, but he's also getting killed.
Yeah, but this team has a lot more talent around than Joe Burrow has in Cincinnati.
Sure, yeah. Depends on who they bring back.
What are you doing sitting on a quarterback? Like, what does it do to sit the quarterback? It does nothing. He just sits there and just, okay. Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think they have a college ready to go on day one.
They've been playing pro-style offenses since they were in friggin' high school. Elite 11 camps, colleges that run all these crazy systems and stuff that Kyle borrows a lot out of. He runs, a version of the spread. There's no need to sit the quarterback. There's no need. Either he's the guy or he's not. And you need to find that out quick. So, I mean, which one of the first-round quarterbacks aren't playing right now?
I mean, they all are by now.
And they all look pretty decent.
Yeah.
What about the year? What about the year before? See, where the problem is when you get high. So teams with as much talent as the 49ers don't often get the draft high, which is why Nick Bosa made such a huge impact on the team, and they were able to get a guy like that. Joe Burrow's getting killed because he's in Cincinnati. That's not because Joe Burrow doesn't have the ability. Joe Burrow's really good. If Joe Burrow was in San Francisco, how good would they be?
Super Bowl team, definitely.
Right. If Justin Herbert was in San Francisco, how good would they be?
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Like, started. That's my quarterback.
Why waste a year with a bridge guy? Ryan Fitzpatrick is making the rounds. Why waste a year with Ryan Fitzpatrick when you know he's not going to take you to a Super Bowl, and just put the kid out there? If they got the talent, they got the talent.
Yeah.
Like you're wasting a year. First of all, you're wasting a year of the kid's rookie contract. Trial by fire is definitely a thing. And the team is good enough that you can put a couple of pieces to protect around him, as far as like, draft an interior offensive lineman round 2. A guy that's plug and play right away. And you keep the kid upright. There's already weapons. What rookie quarterback gets to come into the league and have Mostert, Kittle, Tebow, Ayuk, etc.? None.
Yeah, none.
Listen, we've all seen how wide open 49ers receivers get at times. It's college wide open.
Yeah.
So throw the college kid out there and let him make plays.
That's a good point.
Expand the playbook as he goes, Yeah. But just sitting him on the sidelines for a year while he just has his nose in the playbook. Sure, he gets to learn a little bit of terminology, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he knows, what it looks like out on the field. And I think that being out there with the experience is actually a better thing in the long term. There's a reason why these college quarterbacks play. The last one who sat any meaningful time was Patrick Mahomes, and you can argue that he probably could have played right away. So, but there's a difference between going to a good situation like Josh Allen did in Buffalo, and now he's having success, or Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, right? It's going to be similar if the 49ers pick up a Zach Wilson. It'll be similar to a Lamar Jackson to Baltimore situation.
Yeah,
where there's definitely a ton of talent around him, and he can play right away. And then you just adapt the play calling to the quarterback while you need to, and kind of spoon feed him a little bit each week. And that's the way that it's going to be. But you get that first season out of the way where he doesn't know NFL speed, and it's definitely going to be better than somebody like a Fitzpatrick or a reclamation project like Darnold, who you don't even know is going to recover or not. So I'd rather they just throw him out there. They have enough time, and you're not wasting a year of his rookie salary. Dang, I ran Zach off. Anyway, I'm going to do this by myself, I guess.
Sorry, not sure how I got cut out there.
Oh, there you go. I was about to do it on my own.
Not sure how I got cut out. Sorry about that. Look, you made a good point. I think the 49ers are a very unique situation. The point you made is that not many teams, they're as talented as they are, get an early pick, and most of the time it is due to ACL at the quarterback position. Some crazy situation happens to where a good team is now in position to have a top player. So that is a great point. And that kind of leads to Colley's question. Could we make a run at the Super Bowl next year with a rookie quarterback? We've talked about this previously, Matt. Go ahead.
Sure. The Ravens tried to make a run when Lamar was a rookie. Essentially, Patrick Mahomes' first year playing, he won the MVP with 50 touchdowns. So it's definitely possible. I think even the Bills were a playoff team the first year under Josh Allen. If you believe that some of these quarterbacks are as good as you think they are, like Indianapolis went from the first overall pick to 12-4 with Andrew Luck his first year. So it's possible to make the playoffs. And what we got from Jimmy last year, we made the Super Bowl when he threw 8 passes in one game, like 12 in another. So why wouldn't we be able to, with this roster, if they can stay healthy with a rookie quarterback, why wouldn't you be able to make the Super Bowl with that? And then you have a guy that, probably is going to make more plays, and then, you're a little better off. So, yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that they could definitely make a run. Whether or not he's good enough to overcome elite defenses that they will face in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl, that's another question. Obviously, depends on who's back there. Some more questions here. Head app, doubt 49ers win. I hope so, but not having Tebow, Mostert, Kittle is a lot to overcome, as we've seen all year, unfortunately. Jose, we may not win, but at least they could play a decent game and give a good fight. That's the hope. That really is the hope. Hopefully, they at least come out and don't lay an egg like they did Thursday night.
Well, no, I don't even want to say that, because listen, this is all I want to see out of this team. Play hard.
Yeah.
You might get blown out. But if you're playing every down and you're hustling and you're keeping that energy up, no matter what, that's all you can hope for, because that's going to be the indictment on the coaches. Because as it stands right now, position for position, player for player, the Saints are overwhelmingly better than the 49ers. The 49ers that are going to be out there tomorrow. So, it's going to be a tall task to ask the 49ers to even remain competitive. I'll put it out there right now. My score, I'm guessing it's going to be 38-14 something like that. But if you can be competitive, that's all you can ask from your players. And, you know, it allows you to save a little face. Even, you know, it's just everybody knows. I don't think the Saints, if they blow out the 49ers tomorrow, are going to be like, ha, we beat the NFC champions. They know, just like the Packers knew.
Yeah.
You know, this team is a shell of what it should be. Just look at the injury list. Look at all of the Pro Bowl players that are on injured reserve right now. You know, nobody's thinking that the 49ers are, you know, the 49ers that were there last year. Nobody's saying that. So if they can come out and they can hustle and they can play hard, that's all you can ask from them. And then the result is what the result is.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's what I meant. I don't want to see them just completely lay an egg. As long as they fight, as long as they give an effort, regardless of the score, I'll accept it. I'll be happy with it. Maria Padilla talking about college quarterbacks. Kyle Trask, he's a good quarterback. Matt, what do you think?
I'll have to watch tape, but I'm very concerned about Florida quarterbacks. I don't know. There's something about them that just kind of, like, name me a good one that's ever been in the NFL.
What about Tim Tebow, Matt? Come on, you're forgetting the greatest.
But that illustrates my point perfectly. Tim Tebow was a savage in college, one of the best college quarterbacks to ever play, and then, you know,
couldn't do a damn thing.
Well, I don't want to say couldn't do a damn thing because he definitely hit that slant against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he throws a hell of a slant. Head up, who replaces D Ford to pair with Bosa next year on the edge? Not getting that pass rush is a big issue on defense currently.
Anybody.
Yeah.
D Ford hasn't played.
No.
So even just the most rudimentary body is better than what D Ford's given us because D Ford hasn't given us anything. So, it could be anybody. Like, you know, what's wrong with, you know, a Kerry Hyder being on the opposite side?
Yeah, we both really like
this year.
Kerry Hyder.
So it doesn't and that's the thing. This is one of the fixations that's really weird to me is that the defensive line is super deep. We've just had injuries, right? But then it seems like 49er fans always want something else on the defensive line. It's like, dude, we picked it in the first round like 4 or 5 years in a row. It's time to move on from that position. We have other areas of need. Bosa will be back next year. He's already rehabbing. You can see him working out already. He's a beast. He's going to be back. Just let it go. The line is fine.
Yeah, it's like
we have bigger fish to fry.
It reminds me of those like gym freaks who have that like body dysmorphia and their biceps are like the size of my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just keep working out their biceps. Meanwhile, their legs are like straws. It's like you're neglecting your areas of weakness to continue addressing your areas of strength. I agree with you. Pretty much anybody else there who's above average would be enough because the rest of the line, when healthy, is talented enough to, you know, overcome the loss of a D Ford. This year, they've played solid. They haven't been able to get as many sacks, but for the most part, even as decimated as they've been by injuries, they're still a solid defensive line. So I'm not too concerned with that. Jose, if the Lambs and the damn Redbirds lose their games, we can still have a shot, but we also need to recover important players on the incoming games, which has impacted us the most, injuries.
Do you have the playoffs meme going? Where's the playoffs meme? Playoffs. This team's not making the playoffs. Yeah. This team would be lucky to win one more game. Which frankly, by the way, would be fine with me because 4-12 puts you in a really good position for one of those top quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm in that tough spot to where, as a fan, I obviously want them to do well every week. But I'm in this for the long term, and I'm thinking in the next few years, I'm thinking who's under center if not Jimmy, not Nick Mullins, not CJ Beathard, not Kirk Cousins. I want them to have a guy who can, you know, have full control of the offense, move forward, elevate this team, elevate the players around him, not winning in spite of him, but winning because of him. And I think if they, you know, finish this season 4-12, 5-11, whatever the record may be, that puts them in a really good position to get one of those guys. So it's a great quarterback class. It happens to be a great year to need one. It happens to also be a great year to be able to finish those spots. So look, be competitive, play it out. Don't, you know, break your back to win this game.
Yeah. It's like they have the Rams after the bye week. Then they have the Buffalo Bills. Then they have Washington, which is a winnable game. At Cowboys, which is a winnable game. That's definitely getting flexed out of Sunday Night Football, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
No way that stays in Sunday night. And then they finished the Seahawks at the Cardinals, and then home against or season at Cardinals, home against the Seahawks. The 2 winnable games are Washington and Dallas.
NFC East,
Outside
of
that,
course.
Of course. Outside of that, I mean, there's not a lot of winnable games, and I don't think that you can count on the typical division games are weird sort of thing. Just because, I mean, Nick Mullins hasn't shown himself capable of carrying a team, and even if you get some guys back, the whole purpose of quarterback is to lead the team and be able to run the team. And again, this is why we harp so much on them getting a top guy, is because they haven't been able to do that. They were winning in spite of the quarterback, not necessarily because of the quarterback. And Jimmy had good games. I'm not saying that, he didn't, but this is a team that hasn't picked a quarterback in the first round since Alex Smith and hasn't had an elite quarterback since Steve Young retired. So it's a desperate need. The best franchises are always stable at quarterback. They go from one guy to the next to the next. And we need to see that. So, I'd like to, again, winning games at this point for a team that's not going to make the playoffs is just killing position. And I'm with you, Zach. Like, as a fan, I want them to do really well. I'm also a realist, and I know when, I know what the cards are and how they're dealt. And, again, I'm not as fanatical as some people where I could just, put the blinders on and be like, 49ers going to win today. Because, yeah. I've been there. I've been with this team through the fantastic years. I was born and raised a 49ers fan, so I watched, I was there for their Super Bowl runs in the 80s and, the 90s, and I was there for the lean years after that through most of the 2000s. I was there for the Harbaugh era, and then I was back through for the last little bit, But the thing that's we went from Montana to Young, and that was essentially a 20-year period where the 49ers were always competing in the playoffs. Right. And then after that, other than a couple of good years under Harbaugh, it's been Sucksville. So without great quarterback play, it becomes really difficult to win, especially in a division with good quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jared Goff is the third best quarterback in the division right now as it stands. And it's not like he's completely terrible, but then you have Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray, who are both just make plays that make you go like, well, why can't we have that? Or you watch them play against the Packers and you see, Aaron Rodgers dropping passes in a bucket. And you're like, well, I wish I had a quarterback that could do that. Mm-hmm. You look around the league and you get this quarterback envy, and it's just like, all right, well, okay, I'm tired of just the above average guy. Let's go get a fantastic guy. Let's go get a Hall of Famer. It's time to put another Hall of Fame quarterback on the field for the 49ers. Just bottom line. It is.
And the thought of having an extremely talented, competent quarterback who can move the offense forward, paired with a guy like Kyle Shanahan, the possibilities are endless. I mean, really, you're talking, I don't want to get ahead of myself and say dynasty, but you're talking a really consistent, length of making the playoffs, being competitive, competing for a championship. And that's really all you can ask of your franchise. I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, where, right, Matt, you brought them up previously in another stream, where they've kind of been the model of consistent success outside of the Patriots, to where I don't think Mike Tomlin's had a losing record since he's been the coach in since 2006 or something like that. Like, it's ridiculous. And the fact that they are able to be that consistent, regardless of injuries, regardless of whatever the case may be, that's something that teams should strive to kind of emulate. And I think the 49ers are in a rare position to do exactly that. As long as they draft the right guy to move the team forward, they'll be able to kind of help themselves out in the long term as well. So some comments here. Hung Fat, Brandon Ayuk, offensive MVP, great choice, likely. So Jose, I agree that steady quarterbacks era is over. We need a mobile quarterback like Wilson from BYU for sure. No more statutes. I think statues. That's what he's saying, Matt.
Yeah, no more drop back quarterbacks. And you see how dynamic it can be when you can roll a quarterback out, and they're kind of like that dual threat. You don't necessarily want a guy that's going to run all the time, because I think that adds risk on the back end where they're taking too many hits. And actually, that was something interesting that I was watching Colin Cowherd, and he had Drew Bledsoe on, and that was something that Drew Bledsoe was saying. Like, you look at guys like Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson or these other guys, they don't take huge hits. But when I watch Jimmy Garoppolo, man, he gets crushed sometimes. I remember the season that he tore his ACL, game 1, Danielle Hunter just like smashed him.
Ooh, yeah.
The guy for the Dolphins this year just smashed him. There's that lack of awareness to avoid the big hit. But yeah, I do agree that somebody who is a little bit more athletic, you want an athlete. Yeah. You want somebody that can move around. And fortunately, they're making those in college now. They're the pure drop back guy is not really there anymore. And you see that's why Dwayne Haskins struggled in Washington, because Dwayne Haskins was a pure drop back guy. Yeah. And in the NFL, where you have defensive ends running 4.5 40s, that doesn't work anymore. So yeah, definitely a more mobile guy. And I like Wilson. I want to see what the medical is on him at the combine because of that prior throwing shoulder. Although he was firing some balls against Boise State. So
yeah. And also adding on to that, the fact that when you have a mobile quarterback, the possibilities, I don't want to say are endless, but it adds so much more to your offense.
It's just dynamic.
Yeah, it's dynamic when the play breaks down and you see a guy like Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes. Now, obviously, these guys are the best of the best, but still, when you see them, they're able to break out of the play, and then it turns into backyard football. Then it turns into having that connection with your receiver and him knowing, look, if I just get away from this defender, he'll drop the ball within an inch of my hands. That ability adds so much to the offense that the 49ers desperately need, because there was the stat, I think Eric Branch, or I forget which writer, tweeted out, the difference in quarterback rating when Jimmy Garoppolo throws it over 2.5 seconds or under 2.5 seconds, it went from 150 to 50. So when the play is orchestrated and telegraphed properly, Jimmy Garoppolo can hit it, and he can hit it really well. But when it breaks down, and he's a one.
Well, that's not even breaking down. That just makes him a one-read quarterback.
When his first
read isn't there, then that's it.
Yeah, he can't get the job done. He doesn't know how to move on from that, improvise, go to his next guy. It turns into kind of a crap show, to be politically correct here.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is you can tell that Kyle wants a guy that's athletic. You see him when they run their plays. We've all seen the Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's hold the ball out for the running back, right? And then hold it out there. There's no reason to hold the ball out there unless you're running an RPO. You would just hand it off. Or the other one they do is that quick dive where he hands it to the running back and then fakes the throw. Mm-hmm. That fools nobody. Nobody thinks that Jimmy Garoppolo has the ball. He's not a threat to hold the ball. That's every time that you do Wildcat, right? Well, they do the Wildcat now. Why doesn't Wildcat work anymore? Because the guy never throws the ball. You're looking at a run either way. So, when you take one aspect of it out, you actually reduce the dynamic aspect of the offense, and it turns it into something that's easy to predict. And I think that's, a lot of what's going on with the 49ers. It's just okay, well, Jimmy Garoppolo likes to throw the ball between the numbers. He's either going to hand it out for an outside zone, or he's going to do that run up the middle where he fakes the throw. And so if we take away those between the numbers throws 10 or 15 yards, and we squat in our zones and force him to do, something else, he's either going to throw picks. I mean, there was the stat. What was it? Jimmy on throws of 15 air yards or more. He's 5 of 14 with no touchdowns and 4 picks. That's a whole aspect of the field that you can't even reach. So yeah, they definitely need something different.
Yeah, they do. And it's unfortunate because, you see guys again, the best of the best, but Lamar Jackson, when he actually does do, an RPO, teams have to wait and see. They're no, he can actually carry it and be lethal with it. They don't respect that with Jimmy Garoppolo because there's no reason why they should. Comment here from Headapt. If Tebow and Mostert come back after the bye, I think we beat the Rams, Washington, Dallas. Bills will be the game between the Rams and Washington to determine if we have a shot on Monday Night Football.
It's Sunday Night Football. They're going to get flexed out of that 100% because the 49ers are not going to beat the Rams. They beat the Rams by 8 last time with Jimmy Garoppolo being super efficient, Jared Goff playing like crap, Raheem Mostert was in the game, Tebow was in the game, Kittle was in the game, Ayuk was in the game. It's not going to happen. And they're playing in Los Angeles, so it's not going to happen twice, I don't think.
No.
Good teams can beat their divisional opponents 2 times in a season, but yeah, Washington and Dallas are suspect too.
Yeah, those are probably the
I watched the Cowboys play a hell of a game and keep it really competitive against Pittsburgh last week. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
You know, I'm not saying like Ben DiNucci is anything special or the guy that they got to replace him, Blake blah 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 or whatever the name. What I can't even.
I don't even remember.
Blake Baldwin or something like that.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Something like that, but you know, Washington I think is the real winnable game. That's a home game. You know, at that point, maybe you have Mostert back. You'll probably have Tebow back, and maybe you get something out of, you know, Mullins, which we don't even know if Mullins is going to start because apparently the 49ers decided that Josh Johnson was a good idea to sign. So we'll see how that turns out. We don't even know. So yikes.
Yeah, Josh Johnson. That's a
we're
funny
in the yikes period. We're in the yikes period of the season right now.
It very much is. And his other follow-up comment here, having Mostert and Tebow after the bye, if not lose anyone else to injury, can make a big difference. We can win any of the remaining games, in my opinion, with Mostert and Tebow. Wilson can help as well. I think if they don't lose anybody else to injury is key because they haven't proved that they're not able to do that in just about any game this year. They continue to lose more and more starters. Even the replacements get injured. So I wouldn't bank on that, unfortunately. Because that's just how the season has played out. They lose a lot of key players.
And my only pushback on that is like Tebow, that's cool and all, but you know, just do what the defenses were doing to us. Just do what Seattle did and what the Packers did as far as like just stack the box and make the quarterback beat you. That takes Mostert out. And then if you have up and down quarterback play from Mullins, then I don't think Tebow, again, wide receivers are the most dependent position on offense because you have to have a quarterback that can get you the ball. So if you run up against like, I don't know, let's just say that Debo's back for the Bills game. Okay, well then you stick Tre'Davious White on him all game and then Debo's taken out just immediately, you know, because Tre'Davious White is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Going forward, you know, you're going to have some guys that are pretty good to be able to put against Tebow Samuel. It's just, I think it's too much to ask right now, considering what all is on the injured reserve list and the fact that we don't have an answer at quarterback in any way, shape, or form. Because the one game that Nick Mullins looked good was the Eagles. I'm sorry, the Giants, and then he put in the Eagles performance, right? And then when he played again, it was against the Packers or whatever, and even that was just, I mean, he didn't have the best stats in the world, but there were multiple opportunities for him to be way worse. I mean, he had one interception that could very easily have been 5 with how much he was putting the ball in danger, how off he was. So, you know, again, at some point it's just too much to ask. And I think that you're talking about Rams team that's not completely terrible. You know, much as we like to give the Rams crap or whatever, you know, they have, you know, they're 4-2, so they're not terrible.
No, they're not. And you know, I just feel like too much depends on the quarterback in the NFL right now, and they're not able to overcome having completely subpar performances by their quarterback.
Well, especially in Kyle's offense.
Injuries. Yeah, especially then.
You know,
it's just too much.
Because Kyle runs to set up the pass, right? But if there's no pass to set up, then everybody's just going to stack the box, and then you know what happened against the Packers happens, where we can't generate any run whatsoever.
No, unfortunately,
so,
that's where we're at right now. Going into some more comments. By the way, guys, like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. Once we get there, we're going to give away our 4th 49ers jersey. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and like the video as well. It's the best thing you can do to help support our channel. Jose, Zach, Matt, great stream as usual. Keep it up. Appreciate the love. Thank you all. I saw Hung Fat commented the same thing. So thank you all, guys. We really do appreciate you tuning in. We will be live again tomorrow after the game, after Kyle Shanahan's press conference usually. So make sure you guys join us then. And send in your questions. We're going to be wrapping this up shortly. Send in your questions so we can answer them. And we do this thing where if you guys comment the final score prediction, you happen to get it right, we'll send you some free merch. So I'm wearing one of our designs right here, Faithful. So if you guys happen to get it right, comment your final score predictions and we'll send you some merch.
And I'm
Victoria.
rooting for you guys, by the way. I'm rooting for somebody to win. So we
Yeah,
haven't had it
nobody's won
yet,
all year.
but
Yeah,
we're rooting
we
for
really
it.
do want somebody. Victoria, do you think we are going to get slaughtered? Matt, you first.
I said 38-14, so that's pretty much getting it handed to you.
Mhm.
I don't think it'll be quite as ugly as the Saints Buccaneers was on what was that, Monday?
Monday night, yeah.
Yeah. Just because it's a shorter week, but it's going to be hard. Like, again, I go back to what happened last year where we had the last second field goal, Robbie Gould, we won, but that came down to a 4th and 2 and George Kittle just being a beast like George Kittle is, right? And that took Jimmy Garoppolo's best career game where he has 4 touchdowns, right? And then you look, and the Saints are still about at that level, especially when you consider that with Michael Thomas, that they're still about at that level. Their defense is probably a little better. Drew Brees is probably a little worse. But overall, they're still a really good team. And you look at a wide open NFC, and you got to consider them one of the best teams. And then you look at the 49ers, who have been completely gutted by injuries, by ineffective play, by salary cap issues, by not being able to replace with good players. And, you start to look at that and it looks a little lopsided. So that's where I'm coming from, especially because we're, again, in New Orleans, which is really weird that the NFL would do that. Back-to-back years against New Orleans in New Orleans, I think, is a scheduling oversight. But,
it's unfortunate, but yeah.
Victoria, we
Victoria,
played Washington for the second year in a row, and we're at home this time.
Yeah.
We played them last year in that torrential downpour.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that mud game.
God, that game was so boring.
Yeah, it was a horrible
Other than
game.
both the slide in the water.
Yeah.
That was.
To answer your question, yes and no. I guess it depends on what you think of it. I think that they might be competitive. They might be playing their best game, but even then, I think the Saints are just too much. They're just too good for this team to overcome. And I think my final score, I'm going with like 31-13. I don't think it's going to be necessarily close. Maybe at first it might be, and then the Saints are just going to continue to kind of build on their lead. Hopefully the 49ers can prove me wrong. Hopefully it's a one-score game. I just don't envision that happening from the last couple performances they've had out there. So that's where we're at. I agree, quarterback is the issue. It has been for a long time. My heart is stronger than my brain at times.
All of us feel that way. We all 100%. Have those moments.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, why don't we get into offensive and defensive MVPs for the game, and then, of course, we've done our final score prediction. So, we'll give our offensive, defensive MVPs. Throw us any last-minute questions. We're going to be wrapping it up here.
Okay, I'll go first. Offensive MVP. You know what? I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to say Richie James again. I think he's able to build on his performance. I think maybe Kyle Shanahan has been looking for a spark all year. Maybe he finally saw it in Richie James, and maybe he says, let's see what the kid's got. Let's see if he's able to do this 2 games in a row. Maybe he schemes some plays for him. Maybe Nick Mullins is actually able to connect with him. I think Richie James, he's going to have another 100-yard game and a receiving touchdown.
I'm going to say Brandon Ayuk. I think that Kyle Shanahan's going to find interesting ways to get him the ball, knowing that quarterback play is going to be limited. And I think that he is going to, catch a few balls, be around 60, 75 yards. But I think he's also going to run the ball for about 50 yards and have a touchdown running.
That's a good one. The running aspect that he brings is really good for the 49ers to have, especially when Tebow's not there. Defensive MVP. I'm going to go with one that it's either going to be completely great performance or horrible performance. And I'm going to go with Jason Verrett. And I don't necessarily think that he might have a horrible performance. I just think that the Saints receivers are really good, and even his best might not be enough. I think he's going to pick Drew Brees on tomorrow, Sunday. I think he's going to have a good game, a couple pass breakups. And I think that the battle between him and Michael Thomas, if he happens to be on him for the majority of the day, is going to be really fun to watch. So I'm going Jason Verrett, at least 1 interception.
All right, I'm going to go Fred Warner. I think he's going to get an interception and a 4th fumble tomorrow.
Nice.
I got to go with the easy picks. So we're going to go with the best middle linebacker in football, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick against them. Honestly, they're both just fantastic players. I think that's going to do it. I don't see any more questions coming in. Hung Fat, great choices, Matt.
I do my best.
Yeah. So again, guys, if you like what you see, subscribe to our channel, hit that like button. We really appreciate all the support. And we will be live again tomorrow after Kyle Shanahan's press conference. Once the game concludes, make sure you join us then. We'll break down the game, all aspects, ugly or pretty. We'll talk about it all here.
Yep. And be like our friend here, Hung Fat, notification gang. Turn them on so you don't miss the video. Until next time, guys, go Niners.